Right here, okay?
Sure.
Father, first of all, thank you for your love, your mercy, and your grace. We thank you because of your goodness, compassion, your patience. We thank you, Father, for your forgiveness, and we thank you for your justice. We trust you in all your ways. God, we just commit the council to your hands, your leadership and guidance and direction. As stewards of our resources, God, I pray that you help them to make decisions that are equitable, just, and right for the whole community. And God, we just thank you again for your blessings. We praise you now in Jesus' name. Amen.
All right, guys, we've got a busy work session and agenda, but right now we'll start with Brian's on his regarding sound magic.
Before we get into what you have before you there, could I ask, bring one thing back up with old business on behalf of the CDA?
Yes, sir.
That would be, when do you think we might be able to look at a vote regarding street signs?
I would say let us get through this meeting and we'll talk about it. Honestly, I'm not sure. Of course, we could easily set something up next meeting if we know we have the cost and we have the, presentation that we've given twice, so.
Is there anything else that you need from me?
I don't think so. Y'all think so? It's pretty laid out there.
Yeah.
So we have the info, we just need to discuss amongst ourselves.
Okay. All right, well, to get straight to it, and I don't want to take much of your time, it's not I'm not asking for a lot, but it could be viewed as a lot to some, I guess. But each year we come together as a community and we celebrate the Christmas season, and it seems to get earlier and earlier every year. But obviously, if there's anything that I'm familiar with, it's hosting Christmas events and promoting Christmas in communities. I do work with other communities in doing that very thing with my company, Sound of Magic, providing various tools that they need for their and equipment they need for their events, and also doing event coordinating and so forth, making recommendations on what they're doing citywide during the holiday season. Last year, obviously, there was a major uproar concern in the community. A lot of people were kind of upset, and just in terms of aesthetically how our community looked in comparison to surrounding communities. So what my company would like to do is help create a solution for that, help move us forward. Why would we do that? Well, one, from a commercial interest, the more that we can create and generate walking traffic downtown and bring people to our downtown market, then what do? They shop, they spend money, and that's what we want to help happen. We want to create an appealing environment for people to come to the visit. To do that, all I'm asking you to do is to do three things. One is to form a Christmas leadership team, which will be made up of the Chamber of Commerce, Parks and Rec, Beautification Council, CDA, City Council, anybody that wants to participate, Arts Council, Library, perhaps local retailers or others. The primary focus, as I said, not being on any existing events or anything. We've got people that are doing fantastic jobs there, and we need to just leave them alone and help them in any way that we can. With our primary focus on improving the aesthetics of our downtown and most highly trafficked areas to help people become more motivated to stop. Planning those decorations, managing the assembly of the decorations, encouraging more and recruiting more community involvement, and then creating an annual budget to help make that happen and move along. As far as any cost that would be involved, my company will charge no fee for organizing it and moving forward. As far as decorations, well, that obviously would be yet to be determined. And there's several ways that we can go about purchasing those, through city investment, civic investment and business investment and private investment. So we would work to pull that team together to help make that happen. So it's not, I'm not asking for a major ask or any financial ask at this time, but basically we want to create a picture of what we want to do to be competitive in that marketplace, because we're sorely behind many of the areas that I'm working in.
I think it's a great idea. Should have led them three. No, I think so. We talked about it before, and it's just what we need. And we've got a lot, like you said, currently doing well with what they're doing, and you know, you're coming in to kind of create another avenue with other events that aren't going on right now and help them. So I think it's a good idea. And of course, we'll, you know, just have to make sure about the investment team and all that. And I'm sure you're already doing it in other cities, correct?
Yes.
You're underway in other cities, so I don't have any questions.
Well, is the Chamber of Parks and Rec beautification, because we're all of them on board with this?
Yes.
You spoke to all of them?
I've spoken to, I've not talked with anybody officially on the beautification council yet, but, I've talked with Laura and Deb. She actually has what you're looking at. And then I've talked with Parks and Rec, about it. And again, that's something that is expandable, shrinkable, whatever we need to do. But we'll definitely want to include as much of the community as we possibly can.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. I think it's a great idea. Appreciate it. It's not on the, it's not on the work session, but we need to have Nate come up and finish. It'll be the last piece of our capital budget, probably one of the quickest one we've done. So, Nate, you're on.
So, the first page of the stack of papers that you have in front of you there is what I submitted in August for my fiscal year 23 capital budget expenditure requests. The only one of those items that's been brought up or mentioned is the ladder truck refurbishment, which was briefly mentioned last night, and then when the confusion started over the phone call and different people talking about different things, we just tabled it until tonight. So, you, Ashton, you mentioned last night, just kind of going down the list. So some of these things, you know, are things that we haven't talked about or discussed or anything yet. The one thing that seems to be tripping everybody up or creating the most confusion is that we still have remnants left over that never got fully approved from our fiscal year 22 capital budget project. And the intent behind the station facelift stuff that we're talking about doing was to break it into a two-phase project to facelift both stations, both truck bays and living quarters. And so we started that project in fiscal year 22, and it drug on after that was approved in July, crossed over fiscal years, and so now we're back because it hasn't been approved this fiscal year yet to spend the funding.
So was it approved and funded last time?
Not the flooring component. Some of it was, but not everything.
So what was approved and funded and didn't be completed?
Well, I had given a package with a breakdown of the total number of the estimate of what it was gonna cost to do everything. And there was a question mark surrounding the flooring component as to whether or not it was gonna have to be bid. So I believe that everything other than the flooring was approved in last fiscal year.
Okay, so why wasn't it done if it was all?
To my knowledge, looking back, the power line was off.
How was that the only thing that was approved when we had a number of $46,000 for the project?
Capital budget last year,
Well, we had to approve, because y'all got started on it.
Yeah.
And started the demo and everything,
Yeah.
right?
We had to approve something.
Because he had to come back, because it was just one lump sum, he came back with
What
a,
you did for the fire alarm, it got torn apart with that.
Well, he came back with
That
cabinet
was
expense.
one line item in a long list.
Yeah.
The key question though is what's left that we have to
So,
spend?
so the second page of that packet, I think breaks it down pretty clearly, because I was trying to do things in such a way that was gonna be the cheapest, most fiscally responsible way possible, which is, you know, kind of subbing it out ourselves and doing some of the labor in-house and those types of things. And we couldn't get started on anything until we get approval for everything, because everything has to line up on a timeline together, because we're living in our stations through a renovation.
The only reason I asked what was approved and funded and did it get done, because if it was approved and funded, what was the money spent on, or is the money still somewhere? That's why I'm asking. So that didn't happen, so no money was allocated to anything. Okay, so we're basically starting from square
This is
one.
all gonna be 23
Okay,
done.
alright.
So what I've done, the quotes that y'all have there for all of the major components of the project, left over still, are a total of $47,461.71 to complete the Station 2, which seems to be the biggest sticking point, is the Station 2 living quarters facelift / renovation, whatever you wanna call it. So, because the quotes are so old, and some of the things are changing so frequently, I'm asking for a 10% contingency as a not to exceed price. It may not cost $52,000 to do everything, but if we do a not to exceed price of that amount,
You don't have to come back.
it gives me the headroom to ensure that a little changing in pricing doesn't derail the whole project again.
We still haven't finished the station one plate.
But it's the floor and the paint is, you know,
Well,
flooring is the same as Station 2.
Well, on that flooring, we talked about it, you had your quote, and I did agree, we needed more quotes, but there's no specialized installers or painters, or whatever you wanna call them, that do this, as you stated, so since we have that one quote, I would like to proceed with it.
I would too.
'Cause it's
That's
been-
the only one you got.
And it's only going up.
The flooring, and again, we've done our homework, we know that on the Station 1 bay floor, there have been waterproofing issues. We've done our homework to make sure that nothing that we're gonna do is going to hurt that or create problems down the road that we're not foreseeing. And this is industrial strength stuff that, think of the Honda plant. This is the kind of epoxy flooring that they put down in those types of industrial facilities. So backing over it with fire truck tires is not going to hurt this or tear it up long term.
So is this two prices? Is this a total price, or this is for station one, station two? So it's
Yes.
supposed to be this price?
To get, So that's what, we'll need to put this, cause what we took from last night, Alonda was gonna compile and get a new, just like we were able to get a
Right.
new number. So we need to try and add this in there as well when she gets back.
So, but adding both of these is the new number, right?
Right,
The numbers
yes.
is the new number. And I think the reason it looks like it's so much is because we thought.
It's
we
2
had-
years' worth.
But we thought we had already done, but this is the question I have, because I think we've been having this conversation for, maybe this is the third year. Once this get approved, can we put a deadline, because I don't wanna come to next budget year.
I've had requisitions in Springfield for the flooring, the appliances, and the cabinets and countertops since November and December.
Yeah, 'cause
And they're just sitting there waiting.
I don't wanna go into next budget year and we're doing this again.
I
and then
completely
we're
agree.
saying- And then I'm assuming that we already did it.
I completely agree.
So let's let Yolanda put that in there.
Okay.
The two, station 1 and 2.
Station 1 and 2, we're talking a total of $109,000.
Yes.
We gotta see it in that capital budget.
Okay. All right, so this is part of your capital stuff. Do you want this on
The next meeting?
agenda
Yes.
to approve that?
On the next capital meeting.
So when will this stuff be done? And
Are you gonna have another capital meeting? You haven't-
I think so, he's gotta compile and come back to us.
Okay. So we need to
Right, so
schedule
add
that.
that
So
in
that
there.
for Yolanda to compile.
That's right.
How are these amounts different from the other sheet that's,
Very minimally.
that's been measured, that's 79,000?
The flooring quote that we had at that time was actually more than what it is now. Because at that time, we were looking at the same concrete concept that you mentioned, like somebody mentioned last night. But that was before we ran into the waterproofing issues, so we backed up and punted to make sure that we didn't create another problem there.
And we're not considering a ladder truck refurbishment at this time, right?
Well, so all of that is what I submitted with my fiscal year 23 budget and capital expenditures. So
That's 150,000, we discussed last night, is that still a good number?
I can't be 100% sure, to be honest, because of how fast things are changing right now. I mean, even just talking about, and again, this is not a this year funding thing, but talking about the new fire engine that we've been, surface level discussing and our truck committee has been slowly working towards. I mean, the price increases are outrageous. I mean, they've gone up.
Fluctuate all the time.
I mean, we've gone up 12 or 15% in 12 months. It's, and when you're talking, hundreds of thousands of dollars, 10%.
But you also said we can order it and pay.
Correct.
Wait.
That's why I say this is not a funding for this year, but I'm using that to illustrate with the request for the ladder truck refurbishment. That $150,000 quote may have gone up 10 or 12%, to move forward. So let me hit on the ladder truck real quick. The ladder truck is a 2003 ladder truck.
And this would give you another 20-year life.
Yes. So, I mean, this is and some of this stuff, we do annual ladder tests. Some of this stuff has already in the past few years been noted on our annual ladder tests that, hey, the pulleys are wearing out. Hey, your cables are starting to wear. Hey, you need to look at replacing this stuff. And while it hasn't yet been it's so bad you have to take it out of service thing, that note could pop up on any given year to say, hey, until you replace the cables on this, you gotta take it out of service. So, the cost of refurbing it is drastically less than replacement. I mean, replacing a platform truck like we have out there now is easily $1.25 million without equipment on it, just the truck itself. Easily. And you could go up to 1.5 without too much problem. So, I mean, it's a no-brainer to spend a little bit of money earlier to extend the life for a long time.
Yeah. Now that we got all this in order in the line items, they're gonna have to be added back into that budget we went over last night.
Right.
Go on and compile, we'll have our second meeting to finish it up, and then we'll have final numbers.
Can I ask one question about the package? Okay, you got paid down here, in the notes from your last communication after the 5 years, talk about getting that out. Where are you now on the package?
The cost was not as much as we thought it was gonna be and was not gonna happen.
At current quotes?
It's in that packet that I handed. As well as spelled out on that cover sheet.
So we'll get that on that, follow-up council capital meeting.
Thanks, Nate.
Right, thank you.
All right, Kelly, you can come up here if you want to, but I was going to jump into the police pay plan. Y'all hang tight with me, I got stuff to say, so we'll go through it and y'all can, tell me what you think. So, our problem is, Kelly presented in a great plan, $400,000 for 12 months, full pay plan. We didn't have that, so there's no way we could look at it at the same time. We had Joe and Kim and the finance office looking for extra money, and they came across some. And at the same time, Kelly also brought to our attention, like, hey, it's only 6 months left in the year, this plan will be cut in half. And the new plan for this 6 months, talking with Kelly, would be cutting the plan in half, pushing the corporals to October, and that's when they'll be implemented with the full $400,000 plan will be our plan again. So right now, what we're needing to start, and I'm going on the high end, these aren't exact numbers or anything, so I'm doing worst case scenario, would be $170,000 for this. It's like 165, 170 for what he's wanting to get us through the rest of the year. Now, in the meantime, Yo and Kim in the finance office found about 130 that was left over from a grant a while ago that we got lucky to find, so there's 130 there. You've got something I mentioned to, we talked it over and over and day in and day out, I mentioned it to Kelly today. There is what we passed effective January 1 was that retiree benefits from the, unpaid or unused budgeted salaries of yours, which is about 9, correct? And the average number we got with that whole number was, with the whole 9 budgeted yet unfilled positions was 315,000. The idea was to take that 315 rescind the resolution for the retirements, and hold on, don't lose me yet. Rescind that, take the 315, pay on the 170 of Kelly's plan, that gets us through to October. And then come October, we re-implement the benefits plan to include anybody who retires in 2023 is included with their full benefits as if it never left. So that comes back in, but Kim and Yolanda brought up a big point, that by doing that, it's basically spending that money twice, because we're taking that unbudgeted, those positions, paying on your plan, then we got another 9 positions to fill. So, in my head, that's what we can basket on that 130 that they found. And that could be budgeted for any positions we find, because if you find 9 positions in 6 months, that's great, I love it, we'll do it, but in a realistic sense, you're looking at 4, 5, 6 maybe in the next 6 months if we go through this. So, you use that 130, we have some left over from the 315, everybody's happy, your halfway plan is implemented, and then we come in October with the full plan. Does that make any sense? Okay. So everybody else now.
What are you talking?
Using the retiree benefits that we resolution,
Which was done for all employees, not
Yes.
just the police.
We're rescinding that.
and then take that and pay on Kelly's plan, then
Ms. Kim.
but then we re-implement in October, and anybody that would be effective, because they retired in 2023, or fiscal year 23, would get their benefits just like they were there at the beginning, because we would re-implement with that clause in there of anybody, including retirees of 23. So nobody loses money with that benefit that we originally passed, it's just postponed.
You're gonna make it retroactive back to January 1.
Correct. So whomever retires in 23 gets that like it never left.
Okay. That 315 that you're talking about, okay, that's there for the 9 vacancies.
Mhm.
You're gonna hire those.
Mhm.
You're gonna try to hire those.
Luckily.
That's money that you don't, that's not there.
Well, got that 130 that you and found, so we can,
So you're gonna pull from
right,
both.
from the 130 that was, I'm not gonna say free money, well, it was free money, it was from a grant, but, that we would pull from and bank on paying an employee till we get back around to October and have newer, bigger revenue to work from, brand new budget to work from. You got Publix open, Wharf opening, the urgent care opening, whatever, all the other stuff, so we got stuff.
I think it's a great idea.
Does it make sense?
I mean, you found you had the 130 and then we're having to rescind to get that money that wasn't even being used at the time. We all know we've got a problem, and if this fixes the problem, great idea.
I mean, this is a very urgent problem, and I think that's a great solution to it, fixing it.
Guys, we don't think?
The numbers don't add up, plus the plan that's proposed violates city policy in that it has a raise every year, rather than a raise every 2 years.
Well, let's change policy.
Current policy is every 2 years, and that would change all the costs for everybody else, because it applies to all employees.
Our plan doesn't have a raise every year.
No.
It doesn't include a raise every year. That's something that the council talked about for the entire city. And that's the only time the police department get a raise every year, is when you guys voted it in for the entire city. It's not a raise every year, built into that plan.
That wasn't a part of your
No,
proposal.
no.
So that's my idea, and
I like the idea.
I'm gonna get some sleep tonight regardless, I think that's gonna help everybody out, and hopefully everybody can go home happy. It's just,
So, I mean, and it's 6 1/2 dozen the other. If you use the 130 that they say they plan on this to use for that, and just use another, whatever, just 30 or 35,000, out of the 315, you still got 300,000 left.
And there's no reason to rescind the resolution.
Yeah, the key was not to be rescinding that resolution to the detriment of everybody else, but just taking some money out of that is not, we're not gonna.
But you still have to rescind it to take a position out or whatever.
No, you can modify it,
So you would just change amounts?
take money from it.
We're just doing the.
So as we see it, the 130, we got about 55,000 difference. We can take 55, 65 out of that retiree benefits, out of the 315.
Well, you're not gonna hire all 9 of them, you know that. So you've got some you could.
We gotta be ready to-
possibly pull from police salaries is how I would say it, that have been unused so far this year. You're already 4 months into the fiscal year, so at 30-something thousand a pop, you know.
Realistically, it's gonna be 6-ish, which is still gonna leave a cushion left over. The key is perpetual funding. We have to make sure that we're doing something that we can.
Yeah, we don't have to drain the pot on 315, but we gotta pull from it.
Yeah, you're gonna have to.
I got a comment question. I only have one problem with this. I know we're sitting here saying this now. In October, people may have changed their mind. I don't wanna take something from everybody else, and then October comes, and then some people have changed their mind, and then we didn't do what we said we were gonna do.
Well, if we don't have to rescind it, then it'll be, if we just pull.
No, but what I'm saying is, what can we put in place to make sure that everybody else doesn't suffer from us?
It won't get rescinded if that's what's true. We'll just take, like, there's 9 positions, we'll take 4
That's
out.
the only, I just don't wanna, you know, I don't wanna take something that we promised to everybody else, because I know everybody knows we have a problem, but we still can't punish
Yeah.
everybody else to fix it.
You take 100 out of there and you have 130 there, you're good.
We should probably look at, fully funding 5 or 6 positions with the expectation that we may need to fund the full 9. If we do, we need to talk again to find out.
We can go back and take another position out of that retiree benefit. So,
I mean, I hope that what we do works and it gets us all filled up. It's gonna take time. But if what we're doing is gonna work, then we'll have the manpower
so that, I mean,
to keep everything going, you know, SRO, nuisance control, we don't have to pull from what we got now.
I just, you know, I want 400 out on the table now or whatever, but this is the best way, financially feasible and efficient to do this. And I scratched my brain around it all week, and it just makes sense to me. And if we don't we don't have to rescind that and just pull from it, it's even better. Nobody loses anything.
That's right.
I mean, we'll have that to visit in October, and like you said, there's no worry about people not losing that, retirement benefit, because we won't have to rescind it. So, make sense? Okay. All right.
Good idea.
When's this gonna be on the agenda to pass?
Do we have to do anything besides approve it, because we're not rescinding this
There
resolution?
were several motions that will have to be made on that.
Can we take, because this is it, can we take a few to write them
I know
up?
Kelly had asked that it be effective.
It doesn't have to be effective until the beginning of the, 3rd quarter, which is March the 24th, I think.
Yeah.
So, that's what.
It's possible we can do this next council meeting,
Yeah, we're gonna
or
have-
if we can draw it up at 9.
I really wish we
Got
had
30
this
minutes.
passed.
Yeah, we got 30 minutes.
I'd feel better if we can go ahead and get this passed, and it's not, but there's not anything that can change it in between now and then.
It requires more financial review.
Well, I mean, we can write it up and just, it doesn't go in effect until the 3rd quarter.
Pass it to go in effect in the 3rd quarter.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
yeah, that's,
Let's do that.
That'll work.
so that gives them time.
So we got 30 minutes.
Right. Payroll and all that.
And we have to start at 6 anyways, got more.
Yeah, we can't start till 6.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Are you gonna give me an amount to pull out?
Yes, we'll work on that right now. We're gonna adjourn to the work session, to the meeting.